Okay, so just before the semester started, I made a short video on running Python in different environments, saying it would be useful for some people, the command prompt or PowerShell, or writing the idle interpreter instead of running an idle every time like we'll be doing in the class examples. And then once class started, I went through some brief introductions and learned there is at least one network administrator person in the course. So I thought, well, I probably should have included in that video running that on an Apache server. So here on my machine, I have a XAMPP for a localhost server. That's what I like to use for testing things. And if you have a different one to test, or if you have an actual network set up, that's fine. If you don't have one set up, it can be very useful to have a test environment on your way through school to help learn things. And well, virtual stuff's always nice because if something gets messed up, you just delete it and install a new fresh one. And setting up an actual network can be kind of expensive, but there's just a virtual server, has Apache server, MySQL. Those are the ones I test most often. You can kind of see what's on there. But just a regular old localhost server. Open the browser, go to localhost. So you can see all the information about it. If you don't have one installed and would like one, it's very useful for testing things. I'm a big fan of this one, XAMPP. You can just search for that in Google. Just open a tab, search for XAMPP, XAMPP, and one of the top results should be an installer and all of that stuff. So just go through those steps, get it installed on your machine, and then to run Python on it, we have to adjust the config. So you can go in and adjust the Apache HTTPD config and get them set up to run that way. I'm just going to go all the way through the files here. So if I open File Explorer, I have that installed on C drive. In this folder with the obvious name. Under the XAMPP folder, there should be an Apache folder. And well, here's the two we'll need. We also have We also have an htdocs folder, which if you're familiar with server stuff, that's what we can see on the web pages. So I'm going to go in the Apache folder and config. And on this top level, here's the HTTPD config. I'm going to open that with the text editor. And first thing we have to do is make sure this knows about the CGI script. So obviously you can hit Control F and look for add handler just to check and see if it's there. Let's find next. What do we have? CGI, PL, ASP, type map. Find next, find next, find next. Oh, well, it doesn't look like Python's on there. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. If you want to, you can put it there with those other add handlers. Whenever I add one personally, I like to put it right at the bottom. That way I know I can get right to the ones that I put in there a lot easier. Very easy. I know where the ones I put in there are. So we're going to add a CGI script for .py files. And Python's an interpreted language, so we need to make sure the server knows that. So script interpreter source. Sorry, I've found over the years that I have to type the word interpreter very slowly, or I'm highly likely to get a typo. But it's an interpreted language, so we set the script interpreter source to registry-script. So that'll set up our HTTP configuration to be able to run Python scripts. So just save that. Go ahead and close out of this stuff. I'll minimize that. And well, we changed the config file, so we need to restart our server. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the servers. I'll go ahead and close all this. Quit this extra one and start XAMPP again. Just take a second, and we have the Apache servers back up and running with the new configuration now. So we can go in the shell and and kind of set up some of our Python commands. But this is a localhost server, so we have to tell it where XAMPP's running, which I'm going to grab that from idle. Personally, to avoid trying to memorize a whole bunch of addresses, I just memorize where I can grab stuff. And I know if I open idle and go to file and like save, the default is it tries to save where Python is installed. So I'm just going to copy that, cancel out of that, move this back out of the way. Then over here in the Apache shell, well, we can just paste in that directory. We do want to make sure and add in python.exe. We have to be specific that we want the executable file from that directory. And you can see we entered the Python prompt now, so we can put in some instructions. So print hello world right here in the thing, and go through all of our Python stuff right here in the shell if you would prefer to do it from an Apache server to get good practice on that. But we could also put it, there's another way we can run it if we're running the scripts on a server, which you probably noticed that I changed the HTTPD configuration, which means I'm planning on running this in a web browser. So I'm going to open Notepad++ here and create a short example. Well, I'll just print out some lines. Obviously, printing lines, I'm going to print lines to the server, then come back and retype the top line in just a second. So obviously, some things that hopefully seem obvious. The content type is going to be text/HTML. Make sure there's a new line at the end of your header. And then we can print out some HTML code. Running a test script on the server. So just a quick print out there, printing some HTML content from the server right to a web page. But since we're on an Apache server, we do need to come up here to this top line and tell it where to find Python. Because Python's installed on the machine that this is a local virtual localhost running on. So in a Python comment, we add the exclamation point and then paste in that Python directory. And once again, make sure you add the python.exe that is in that directory. That way it knows exactly what to run. Then save this as a Python script in your htdocs folder. So back up to C drive, under XAMPP, htdocs, sorry, I have trouble saying that, htdocs, the stuff we want to run on the web page, and create you a new folder. I tend to save stuff in this one called My Pages, and I'll call this videxample.py. So now we have that Python script running there, or that Python script loaded into the right folder. Hopefully I didn't get a typo while I was talking. The virtual server is running, so if I come over to a browser and head to the localhost, 127.0.0.1, if you prefer to type those in, and go in the My Pages folder, and I could have went ahead and typed this in, but just went to the generic index, and we can see that videxample.py is right here. So if I go there, there's the test words. So that, for network administrator people that might be taking this course, that might be the way you want to run your script, because that's how you would use Python scripts as a network administrator, most likely. That was left out of the original video, so I thought I'd make one and include it. And I will, for the network administrator in the class, I will send you an email as soon as I get this uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch this. Let me know if you have any questions about that.